So this Loom outreach system that I'm about to show you has been responsible for booking over 5,000 meetings in 2025. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what the method is so that you can simply watch it step by step and implement it in your own business and start generating calls well into 2026. Let's get straight into it. So the first thing I want to talk about is the core premise that everyone seems to skip, which is okay. Maybe they just haven't thought about it. And that is that trust is everything. And what I mean by this is this is the foundational understanding for why you're sending a video. Okay. So if I ask someone, why are you sending a Loom video? Why are you sending outreach? Why are you sending this prospect video? They'll say, because it gets better results. But why does it get better results? And they might say, because I can explain more in the video or something. But fundamentally, why it works is because the video allows you to build trust. The video itself doesn't build trust. Using the medium, the mode, the method of sending a video allows you in the video to build trust, right? Through your mannerisms, how you speak, your tone, how genuine you are. All these things you offer tie together to build trust. When you're doing cold outbound, you're typically trying to sell something with a lifetime value of $5,000 or more. Right? You're not trying to sell a low ticket thing because it's too much effort to sell a low ticket thing and you can't really scale it. So typically you're trying to sell something of $5,000 or more. And in order for someone to buy something that is an LTV of $5,000 or more, they must trust you. Compulsory. They must trust you. Okay. Cold outbound inherently starts from zero trust. Right? We could look at this as kind of like a trust threshold, meaning that there has to be a certain amount of trust in order for them to buy your thing, especially if we're talking about higher ticket things, which is what we typically are talking about with cold outbound. So there has to be some level of trust in order to buy the thing, and outbound is inherently low trust. And what this means is in order to sell someone something, you must move them through a process, and this is key, you move them through a process or a system that builds trust, okay? When you're dealing with inbound leads, they've already come to you with a level of trust. They've already gone through a process, right, in order to get to you. And that process to get to you has built the trust. Maybe you've watched YouTube videos of me talking, and then you've gone and booked a call, and then you've talked to our sales team, right? The watching YouTubes of me was what built the trust. When you're doing outbound, they haven't gone through that process. So you have to build the trust, right? And it's been shown that the richer the medium, the easier it is to build trust. Meaning that sending someone a voice note, it's easier to build trust than just text. Video is easier than voice, and face-to-face is easier than all, right? So what we're trying to do is move up this ladder here and use video because it's an easier medium to build trust at scale on outbound. So you want to show your face, your tone, your mannerisms. It's a trust shortcut, essentially, right? It allows you to easily build a lot of trust that you can't do over text, okay? Seeing a real human immediately increases connection and lowers buying resistance. That is really what we're trying to do here. And what this means is that when you are making the videos, you're making the videos to build trust, right? You're not making the videos to sell your thing. You're making your videos to build trust, right? And so it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to say the right words. You just have to genuinely convey that you can help them, right? And yes, that's kind of done through the script and the words, but it's mostly done through your tone, okay? Based off this philosophy, we're the video outbound guys. We're the video outbound specialists. And that's the core principle that we have used to book 5,000 or more calls this year, okay? That's the core principle. In order to sell something high ticket, you must build trust. An easy way to build trust is to use a richer medium that you can do at scale as video. That's the core premise of essentially what we're doing. Let's talk about where outbound fits in the bigger picture. And I am going to pull up a diagram here. So typically you're going to have, let's just say, sales and fulfillment, right? And then typically, I'm just going to make this yellow and this purple. Typically, let's say you're a cafe or something. Your fulfillment, e.g. you make really good cinnamon rolls or something, is going to lead into more sales. There's word of mouth, right, that happens in there, okay? What happens if you're not getting enough sales through your fulfillment. Okay, I'm just going to delete this for now. You're going to have to do some sort of, let's just call it marketing or lead generation. I'll just call it marketing. Right? You're going to have to do some sort of marketing. Right? This is still going to now come in here. Right? So you can do marketing, sales, fulfillment. And what sorts of marketing can you do? You can either do like, you could do like ads. You could do cold outbound. You could do content. Right? You can do all these things. We're obviously specialists at the cold outbound thing. That's been our jam, and that's kind of the space that we play at. We obviously also do content on top of this. But let's just talk about cold outbound specifically. How does cold outbound play into this game? So what you're going to do is you are going to do like this. You're going to, let's just say, send outbound messages. You're going to then move them into a lead nurture process. And then you're going to move them into a sales process. And for simplicity here, this is typically going to be a discovery call. And then it's typically going to go into a demo call. Okay. And then you're going to close, and that's going to go into fulfillment. And then if you do a good job on fulfillment, it's going to go into video testimonials. It's going to come into referrals. Right. And then these, so referrals, if someone gets referred to you, they're probably going to go back into a discovery call. When you get video testimonials, you can put them as part of your demo call. Right. They can also go into your outbound messages. Right. So these are some things that can be done here. Then typically what you do is once you've got this kind of humming, you start to layer on content. So this can be like LinkedIn plus YouTube or a combination, right? And what this means is that a percentage of people that you send outbound messages will come into your LinkedIn, YouTube, and then from there they'll go to do a discovery call, right? And a percentage of, let's say, your video testimonials, you're also going to put on this sort of content. So this is the sort of engine that you're building. And in this, what I'm going to be talking about is these key components here. So I'm going to be talking about sending the outbound messages. And I might talk a little bit about lead nurture a little bit as well. So this is where it sits in the game. This is a really good mousetrap, and is the mousetrap that we've used to grow our business. When I say mousetrap, I essentially mean acquisition flywheel system that we've built. So it's not super complicated. You send outbound messages, you then nurture positive replies into discovery calls. You then do discovery calls and a demo call. You'll notice that this whole system builds trust, right? Send outbound messages, and as part of that, we send them a video. Lead nurture. We do a good job doing that, and we might even send them more videos or a voice note. Then we have a discovery call, which is used to build trust. Then we have a demo call, which is a video call, which we then use trust and pitch. Then we're going to sell and do a good job in fulfillment. We're going to get video testimonials, which is going to feed back into the system. We're going to get referrals, that's going to feed back into the system. Okay. And we're starting to get to the point where we can essentially turn off outbound messages because we're getting enough lead flow through referrals and YouTube. All right. So this is the system which outbound is going to fit into. Outbound's just the spark, and you can think about it that way. Like, you need some throughput at the beginning to get this going, right? And that might be you have relied on referrals and now referrals are drying up. It could be that you just want to grow faster than you're currently getting inbound. That's typically who we work with. They want to grow faster than what they're currently getting inbound. Maybe they've created cold call and they want another influx of leads to pump into the system. This video focuses on the front end, okay? So I'm just going to give you a little bit of background about how we got here. We used to run a restaurant marketing agency, and we grew that for the most part through initially cold walk-ins, and then we would fly to Australia, or New Zealand at the time, to do cold walk-ins over there, and that worked well. And then from there we went to the ManyChat conference in Austin, and we met some people who were also in the space, and they showed us their calendar, which had packed out with meetings, and they said they did that through Facebook ads. So we started like try and crack Facebook ads, and we spent $10,000 before we got our first call booked, and they didn't show. But we were so excited at the idea that you could do some tangible effort, money, something on the front end, and get a call, and then you could build the business out the back, right? Essentially what I was talking about here. There was a way to pump stuff in here and build out the business, because until then, doing cold walk-ins, you don't really feel like you have a business, to be honest, right? Then we essentially from that point started cracking Facebook ads. We got to the point where we were getting calls for like 60 USD. And so we grew that. We ended up probably working with over 1,000 restaurants. And then Facebook ads started to get way more expensive. And so our acquisition essentially plummeted. We turned it off, and we booked an Airbnb in the bush. And we said, we are not going to leave here until we crack Outbound. And we had like a pirated Charlie Morgan course with us, which talked about doing Loom video outreach. So we essentially locked ourselves in this cabin with good Wi-Fi, thankfully, and did Loom video outreach. And we were sending like 40 to 60 a day, maybe a bit more than that. And we had like a 6% booked call rate. So booking quite a lot of calls. And by day 4, we had closed our first deal, which was kind of crazy. And from there, we tested what he had coined like the Terminator Loom method, which is that you can just play the audio over a website scroll. So Daniel would record the audio once, play it, and we would scroll on the website. And that essentially meant that we could do way more. And then by the end of the week, we'd hired a VA to do that process. They did the audio, and I'd find all the restaurants, etc., would send it out. And that worked really well. And then from there, we moved to a different system where we used a software to essentially do that Loom video making process. That was just over 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago now. And from there, we essentially had a whole lot of other businesses asking us if we could do acquisition for them. And leads were worth more to them than leads were worth to restaurants, so it made more sense for our business to work with them. And so we transitioned to helping other businesses grow through using personalized video outreach. And that kind of leads in nicely to the 2 methods that we use today. So there's 2 types of Loom video outreach that we do. We do permission-based outreach, which is essentially where we send an email and we ask, would you be open to me sending over a video? And then we go and make the Loom video. So what this looks like is we would say email 1 and then email 2. We're just going to put 2 emails here. And the emails are going to say something like, hey, I've made you a quick video doing XYZ. Do you mind if I send it over? And then if they say yes, right, then what we do is we then make Loom and send that, right? So that's one option. Hey First Name, we help similar plumbing companies in Chicago generate more water heater installation jobs with people that were getting their building up to regulation before tenants moved in. I made a video showing how this might work for you. Do you mind if I send it over? Okay, so none of this. When they say yes, you then record a person on Loom. Because they ask for it, these videos get watched, right? We found that this is a way easier way to get way more calls booked per video made if you're making them manually, as you ask them if they want the video first, and then you go and make them the video. This is roughly 5 to 10 videos per booked call. So roughly if you make 10, you'll get 1 to 2 calls booked, okay? Why this worked? Not everyone deserves a video, only those who are open to it. Reply rate, watch rate, call rate is massively higher, right? So this is one approach that we use. The other approach, which is the automated system, and this is more scalable, is you make one video and then the software overlays it. So for example, you do let's just do this. Email 1, email 2, and this one has video, but is auto, right? So it automatically overlays that video, and I'll just show you what that looks like. So just as an example, here is our first email. Here is a second email. That email will have in it the video, and the video is overlaid onto the prospect's website, right? So each prospect gets a different video. What is said is the same, it just gets overlaid onto each individual prospect's website, okay? So we don't use any AI voice or face, we just keep it human. We've found that currently works best, and we send out 200,000 of these a month at the moment across just under 40 different businesses, right? So this is the second method that we use. So how to script these videos? We have full scripts that you can use below. So there's going to be a link below this video where you can go and essentially use a script template that we've got, put it into Claude or ChatGPT or your AI of choice. But here are some just high-level scripting principles. You want to keep it natural. It's easier to say that. It's easier with practice. Focus on the opportunity for them. End with a simple human call to action. And then again, I've just said this 50 times because you are not trying to sell, you are trying to build trust. The script of the videos is cool, and like I recommend you use what we've got below or something similar, but the main thing is that you can make a video which feels genuine. That's like the main thing, and honestly that comes with practice. That just comes with practice. You can also use a little bit of humor as well if you think that's appropriate, but you're trying to show that you are real. That's the crux of what you're doing here, right? So script the videos. If following a script makes it feel less natural, then don't follow a script, right? You can just say, hey, sorry, I know it's a bit odd for you to get a video like this, but I have something that I think will be really interesting for you. So I did make the effort to make a video. So hopefully you watch this and feel genuine. That's really what we're trying to get at here. So let's talk a little bit about lead nurture. And this is where you've sent them a video, they've responded positively, and now you need to get them onto the phone. Why do you need to get them on the phone? Because you need to start, again, building this genuine trust and rapport with the prospect, and you need to do that either on the phone or on a video call, depending on your industry. The outbound's going to get the attention. Essentially, they're going to raise their hand a little bit. I use the golf analogy, and essentially what that means is you're playing around a golf, you're on a certain hole, you've got the ball on the tee, and you need to get in the hole, which is on the green, that away, right? Essentially, your outbound is you trying to hit the ball off the tee, right? If you've done a successful outbound, e.g. they've raised their hand somewhat, what it means is you've hit the fairway. You now have the opportunity to try and hit the ball into the green. You now have the opportunity to try and tee up a sales call, okay? And to do this, you need to understand a few things. One, you need to understand that you're battling against life, right? You know, there's a really strong wind blowing, and that is everything else in their life is far more important than you. So you need to try and keep the ball in your court if you can, and you need to try and use multiple layers to build trust. E.g. send them another video, you can send them a voice note, these sorts of things to build more trust. When I say keeping the ball in your court, this obviously is going to depend on what industry, but you could, for example, give them a call if they respond positively. And then if they don't pick up the phone, then you can send them a text and you can send them an email and say like, hey, sounds great. Let's have a quick call. I tried to call you now, but I couldn't get in touch. I've put us in for a call at 4 p.m. on Friday. Let me know if that doesn't work or if you don't want to have a chat, right? So you're keeping the ball in your court, right? Another thing I would say is don't send call booking links unless you've got so many leads that you're trying to disqualify people, right? Because again, just another step. Lots of people prefer if you propose times. Connect with prospects on LinkedIn. I would recommend that as well, is that if someone responds positively, you want to open up the modes of communication that you can use. So connect with them on LinkedIn so that if they accept that, you can follow up with them on LinkedIn as well. When someone agrees to a time, you're going to book them in using a booking link on your side. Just make sure that they've got reminders for that call and ask them to reconfirm that call. And if they do not reconfirm, then you can do some manual follow-ups on the day of that call to make sure that they show. Okay, and just to tie everything all together, so what we're doing is we're going to send outbound messages, and there's two types of outbound messages that we're going to do. We're going to either send permission-based, hey, do you mind if I send over a video? I've made this cool video for you. And then once they say yes, you're going to send it over, or you're going to automate the sending of that video. When you make these videos, the goal of the video is to build trust, okay? Once somebody responds positively, you're then going to nurture them towards a discovery call, demo call, then you're going to do fulfillment, which is going to get you more video testimonials and referrals, which ties back into the system. And this is essentially the system that we used to book 5,000 calls. If you're a B2B business and you want this exact system put into your business, then you can book in a call with somebody in my team down below. If you want a more in-depth guide of how you can do this yourself, there should be a 90-minute video on screen now that you can watch. I'll see you there. Peace.